Now we're going to talk about the themes and motives of the piece. The motives that I found, I already talked about at the beginning of the piece. So we found a motive, which I will call X, in the soprano voice. And as I said before, it's the repetition of a series of pitches and then an upward motion. And then this motive X sounds like this. And now we're going to talk about a motive Y. Like I said before, this is in the alto voice. It's an arpeggiated figure that is in the right hand of the pianist. And pay close attention to the middle voice of the etude. And finally, we get a motive Z. This is in the left hand, and it's an arpeggiated figure that goes from down and then up, and then back down again forever. And it's throughout the whole piece. So listen to the bass notes specifically. These motives show up again really throughout the whole piece because it's the harp etude. So we get a lot of arpeggiated figures throughout. But we get, in the B section, we get the Y motive again, as you can tell, of the arpeggiated figures, and the Z motive again, with the left hand up and down arpeggio. Listen to it closely. And now what happens in the coda is that we get motive X back again. So we get this repeated set of E-flat notes. It's literally a copy-paste of the beginning material. But in this section, it sounds almost like a memory of the beginning. So I think Chopin uses this motive as a memory of what happened all throughout this piece. And here it comes. I thought it would be interesting to talk about a harmonic change that I found surprising. I've already talked about this section a little bit before, but I'm going to talk about it a little more in detail. And it's this part in the B section where we get the expansion, the internal repetition. And what happens is that, like I said before, at the beginning of the B section, we are in the key of C major. And we have to slowly modulate back into the home key. And this is the section where that happens, that modulation. And I think it's very interesting because it briefly goes to A major. And what is interesting about this part is that it sounds like a little moment of light, of bliss. And even though this whole piece is written in a major key, and it modulates to a major key, it has the feeling of yearning. It's almost as if a person was missing something or someone. So this little section where it goes to A major is really interesting. So I'm going to walk you through it. Here it comes. To the potential material. For the critical assessment of the piece, I will begin by comparing two recordings. The one made by Valentina Lisitsa and the one made by Peter Bradley-Fulgoni. The biggest difference, as you can see for yourself, was the tempo. Valentina did an average of 115, which is a little faster than Fulgoni's performance. And I just found both recordings to have a very different character. Valentina's was driving forward. It had a momentum to it. even though she had some rubato, but it just kept moving forward. Bradley-Fulgoni's was more tender, and it's the one that I used for my presentation. Both of them hit the climax at the last PAC, although Fulgoni, I think he grew faster, if that makes sense. So as soon as he started the cadential material in the big B section, he started growing really fast, and I think Valentina postponed it a little bit. I personally like the postponing one, but it's up to interpretation. And also, both of them played the piece as if it was a simple binary form, which is why I picked that as my main large form. Some people might think that it's a rounded binary form because we do get the motive X from the beginning at the end, as I mentioned before. So it might sound to some people as a rounded binary form. However, both of these players really emphasized a coda. Fulgoni's is not as clear as Valentina's, so I recommend that you might want to go back and listen to more people play this piece, but I personally think that it's a simple binary form. As far as the Etude itself, I really enjoyed this project because it has very interesting moments, like the sequence that marks the beginning of the B section. I just think it really gives momentum to the piece. Also, the modulation that I talked about, the little ray of sunlight, but specifically the moment that I enjoyed the most was the one more time technique. I think Chopin was really effective in the way that he employed the one more time technique, because he really builds momentum for the first attempt and it doesn't happen, and then he tries again, but he expands the harmony. So there's not only a one more time technique, but there's an expansion, a stretching of the harmony. So I thought that was very interesting. As far as recommendation for performing, I think the main thing would be choosing the tempos. The three things that I talked about for the recording, which is the tempo, because they might want to give a specific character to the piece. Do they want it to move forward, which I personally like, or do they want to be more tender, more yearning? Also, I think it's very important to mark that climax, to really build up to it. I think one can build up to the climax a little too fast. So to make a really good effect, just postpone a little bit. And really, for the performer, it's up to them whether they think it's a simple or a rounded binary form. And I think that would definitely shape the way they perform it. So this was my analysis of the Etude in A-flat major, Opus 25, number 1, by Frederic Chopin. In this video, we talked about the large-scale form, which was simple binary form. We talked about the phrase level, the theme types. In each one, we had a couple of hybrids. And we also talked about the main motives of the piece. We get one in the soprano voice, one in the tenor voice, and one in the alto voice. And all of them really contribute to this sound of a harp. And they accentuate the fact that the pianist, the performer, really needs to work on their arpeggio technique. We'll talk about the harmonic motion of each section, and just in the big picture, we started in A-flat major, and then it modulated to the mediant, and then it went back to the home key.